how is the system designed? My first question is, Mr. Farmer, what's your job? What are you supposed to be doing? The only way we can harness the ultimate source of energy in our universe, which is from the sun, is through a green growing crop.
Yeah, my name is Jim Halbeisen, and this is my opinion.
My name is Jim Halbeisen. I'm Director of Research for Growers Mineral Corp., and I'm in charge or be working with this podcast to try to expose potential customers or farmers to our methodology of raising crops. And we're trying to use contact between farmers and other farmers about how this methodology works. We feel that this gives the farmer the best chance to evaluate what we're trying to do. So I myself have been associated with this program from the beginning, which was 1955. My dad started with this when the company started. So we have fields that have only had the growers program on them since 1955. Some of the farms we've purchased since then, we basically implemented the growers program at that point. But part of our customer base, we like to bring gentlemen in that can talk about what their specific crops are. We're dealing with any type of crop you want to talk about. We're basically in approximately 30 states, a couple provinces in Canada. So we're very broad spectrum in the type of crops that we work with. And back in 2010, 2011, we implemented what we call the conference call, where what we did is we had an evening call where farmers could call in to this call, and then we discussed different topics. And then we encouraged our farmers or our sales force to talk at these conference calls about the growers program and how it was implemented in their particular operation. And so I view this as just a different type of platform than that was back in 2010. We've continued those conference calls. We've thinned them down a little bit because in the summer, farmers are really busy. They're too tired to listen to a call. And we've thinned that down a little bit to where we think it is easier for farmers to get on. It's more advantageous to their position. So what we're doing here is basically the same thing. At those calls, we talk about the growers program and the growers product, Growers Mineral Solutions, but we also try to implement current events in agriculture and how our approach to farming can fit into that, because there are a lot of different pressures that are coming to the farmer environmentally, economics. Those are things that we've talked about for many years. And the way we approach it is different than what most of mainstream agriculture is doing. We understand you got to have yield, but having yield at all costs is not going to be very advantageous. So by bringing other farmers into this discussion, hopefully we can give the potential farmers that are looking at us for the first time some ideas of what we're talking about, what we're trying to do. This farmer interaction, we think, is very important, because that gives guys a different perspective, probably the perspective they're looking at, and the fact that we bring in current events. When I say current events, we all know what happened last Thursday when the U.S. government put out their oilseeds report and said that the 2025 corn crop was going to be the largest on record. And we haven't even gone to the field yet, maybe a little bit in Texas, but some of the guys in Texas are going slow because why? It's bone dry. And see, as a company, we're seeing this dryness throughout our 30-state area, basically, and in Canada. And then we do a little bit of work offshore, and those areas are seeing very dry weather also. So Those are some of the things we like to talk about at these calls or at these podcasts, because we think you have options. When you get into very dry weather, spreading of dry fertilizer is not going to be very advantageous because it's never going to dissolve, and you're never going to get activity out of it. When we foliar spray a crop, we basically can get that nutrition directly into the plant, which basically brings it into the system. And see, that's another thing we like to talk a lot about, is how is the system designed? The way I start the meetings that we present in the winter is, my first question is, Mr. Farmer, what's your job? What are you supposed to be doing? And see, what that is that the only way we can harness the ultimate source of energy in our universe, which is from the sun, is through a green growing crop. Because that's basically how a crop propagates itself, is through that energy. And see, you, Mr. Farmer, are selling that energy. You're actually intervening against the plant's ability to reproduce itself. And see, when you do that, you want the plant to reproduce itself. In the old days, we used to hold the seed back. Today, we turn that over to the big chemical companies, basically. But what we are saying to you is, when that crop is growing, you're taking radiant energy from the sun, and that plant, through the photosynthetic activity, and all you guys have heard about photosynthesis from, sixth grade basic science, that plant is able to trap that radiant energy and put it into a chemical compound. And what is the chemical compound? It's sugar. And I know right now, if you look at your phone, I don't care what your search engine is, type in the chemical composition of sugar, and it'll come back to you, because I've done it, C12H22O11. That's what you're selling: seed of corn, seed of soybeans, a bale alfalfa, a spool or a roll of cotton. It is that entrapped energy in that sugar product. And see, when it's C12H22O11, where is the NPK? That is our question as a company. So, if it doesn't take as much NPK, how can we cut that back and put it in proper perspective with the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen? That's the whole premise of the Growers Program. And then we talk a little bit about how microbiological life is affected by that, because that is a very fast-growing portion of agriculture. All you guys that are putting in cover crops, that's what you're doing. You're trapping energy, feeding the microbes. And see, you even look at human medicine, guys. Immunotherapy is using the microbes of the human biome to fix some of these systemic diseases. Even other diseases that are not systemic are being changed through immunotherapy. This is basically what we're trying to talk about out in the field. Working with that biological life and using what you have as access in the soil, and then not using as many inputs to garner your profitability. My name is Jim Halbeisen. I'd like to thank you for watching the Growers Podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast through various methodologies, and we will continue this to try to talk about our philosophy and get into greater detail. We're going to bring in some of our customers. I mean, a lot of our reps are customers, as I am, and we'll just talk about the program and how we think the product with the program can give your farm success.
This podcast has been brought to you by Growers Mineral. Please visit growersmineral.com.